All right, everyone, in this video, we're going to take a look at how to create your puzzle cube solution sheet. With that, we're going to go through and take a look at just an example puzzle cube solution that I use. This solution does not fit the criteria for our puzzle cube, so don't think this is one that you can use. This is going to be a four-part puzzle cube, and as we go along, this is going to be how I kind of go through and pick this out. So here's what I usually like to do, is I usually like to go ahead and sketch out, and just like in the examples, I'm going to sketch out the puzzle pieces that I want to go through and to have within my puzzle cube. Okay, so here's one that I go through and have. This is a 6-cube puzzle part, and as I go through and start to pick this out, there's one piece. Another one that I like to go through and use would be one like this. Now this one is not going to fit my criteria because this is kind of a 9-cube puzzle part. So this would not be one that you want to go through and look at. But some of these other ones, like for example, we can go ahead and put these in. And a lot of times sketching these in the orientation of how you might make them fit into your puzzle cube might be one of the best case scenarios for this particular part. So I'm going to go ahead and sketch the individual parts. Now, the way that I'm going to show you is this might be a little challenging as you go through and you start to look at some of these particular items. Okay, so here is our, and I'm going to zoom in here just a little bit at some of the appearance here. You'll notice I didn't, if you need to sketch each individual cube, then you can do that. For this one, I didn't really go through and do that so much. Okay, so I just have front face and then what corners that would go through and show up, kind of like on this one. I didn't show all the dividing line cubes. You can if you need, but here's what I like to do with this particular scenario. I'm going to zoom out here. So off to the right, and this may be beneficial for some of you to start with if you're having trouble kind of seeing some of this. So I'm going to draw the full puzzle cube, which is going to be 3 by 3. 3 for the height, 3 for the width, 3 for the depth. So everyone's going to wind up with an assembled puzzle cube. So what I want to go through is I want to look at, okay, well, when this is fully assembled, when all these parts are put together, what is this going to look like? Now, I usually do something like this, and this is what I'm going to have you do, is right along this line, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mark a little dot, and I'm going to draw the top face that's going to be 1 cube high, but 3 cubes deep. So imagine I went through and I take this puzzle cube and I sliced off the first layer. Okay, this is going to be the first layer. Let me fix some of my lines here. Okay, so here's going to be the first layer of my puzzle cube. Now, going down here, I'm going to go ahead and leave about a 1 grid square of space, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. And I'm going to go ahead and sketch in my second layer that I have going on. Okay, so there's going to be the middle layer, and then as I take a look at the next portion, this is going to be my bottom layer. All right, so what I can kind of do, this is what I call the elevator sketch. This allows me to check to make sure I don't have any holes in the middle of my puzzle cube. So the one thing that I would do here is, like for example, with the green part, so this 6-cube puzzle part I'm going to make green. Now it's pretty important that if you go through and you make this part green on this sheet, when you go to model it and actually create it on your puzzle cube, the colors need to match. So as you go through and you start to take a look at, what kind of colors do I want to pick? I don't care what colors that you pick, but we got to make sure we stay consistent. So this part, if I go through and pick it out, I know I want it right up here in the front of my puzzle cube. So I'm going to see that kind of stair-step face, and even you can take your colored pencil and kind of outline it a little bit. Sometimes that kind of helps you understand and kind of see that what I'm kind of going for. Okay, now the other thing too is the way that I have this set up is that actually this top face, and the way that I see it designed, is I'm going to see the top of that cube there. Now I'm going to leave the rest of this alone because my next part that I want to fit into the stair step is this red one. Okay, and the red one's this large puzzle puzzle part that I have going on here. So I'm going to go ahead and add some color. So make sure I stay between the lines. And so as I go forward, that's kind of what's going on. Okay, so there's the red one. Now in this case, the red one, when I put it in there, is it's going to be red. I'm going to see this face just like here on the front. I'm going to see this kind of in there. And since this is going to sit in there kind of like that, that means this top face and this right side face I'm going to see on this side of the puzzle cube. So you're going to see a lot of the red part is going to get, in the way that I've got this positioned, it's going to be seen on our puzzle cube. Now let me go ahead and show you what's going on with the elevator sketch. So what's going to happen here is same kind of thing. In this top layer, I have these two cubes. So I'm going to go ahead and color these in. And then I do have this top layer right here going all the way back where I'm going to see red puzzle cubes when this is together. Okay, same thing on here, but I'm only going to see one layer of it as I go forward. Okay, so that part's going to be red. But then, as I take a look, it's like, well, what do I have in the first layer? Well, I only have one cube that's going to be green. So that means I'm going to see this top face, and I'm going to see this front face. Okay, so there is that one cube there. And I'm going to leave these left white because I'm only just kind of filling these in. But here's what I can do. As I go to the second layer, I'm going to see green in this one. And also, as I got two faces of green. So let me go ahead and get the faces that are green here. And let me go ahead and do the bottom layer. So the bottom three are all going to be green in that case. Which, when I take a look at my puzzle cube up here, I actually missed a face. So I can actually put this one in here as well. Okay, same thing on this side. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm taking a look at, well, what are my various cubes that I'm going to go through and see, and where do they find their way into the actual puzzle cube? So I'm going to leave some of this blank a little bit, but let me go ahead and let's add in, like, for example, the blue part. So I'm going to go ahead and color this. Okay, there's blue. Blue I'm going to have sit kind of back here in this corner. So that means in this case these top two, and since they're three cubes tall, means it's going to be coming all the way up in the back, which means in this elevator sketch I'm going to have two blue cubes being represented there. I'm going to have two blue cubes and also wind up in here. And I also have two ones that are going to show up in the bottom. So because it's going to go all the way from top to bottom. Okay, so some of that you can already go through and see. It's like, oh, okay, well then now that must mean that this top one's going to be green. And so is this one. So is this one. So that goes through and kind of helps. And again, if you need to outline some of that, that kind of helps kind of, pull some of those things in. Same thing on this. I'm going to go through and see the green. Okay, second level, red. I do have red here, so I'm going to see red on the outside. And then it's going to go all the way across to the back, so that's going to actually be here on the top as well. And I don't have any red in the bottom layer, so I'm going to kind of leave that alone. Okay, so now here's what we end up having is I got one last part here. I'm going to make this one yellow. So doing some quick coloring here. Okay, so then now I got to figure out, well, where does yellow go? Well, yellow is probably going to sit in at the bottom. So that means these last two are going to be here. So that means that in the top layer I don't have any yellow, but I will, just the way that this kind of is sitting in there, is I will see yellow tops. And most of this part, so I got two yellow cubes, which are going to be these two. And then the bottom four, so I got four here on the bottom, are going to wind up here in the bottom. So there I can kind of tell, it's like, am I using 27 cubes? And if I went through and added up how many cubes each part has, I should go through and get 98 cubes out of it. But this is our puzzle cube solution. So when I ask you to do this puzzle cube solution sheet, this is going to be kind of like your plan of where you're going through and seeing what parts did you pick, what does it look like in the assembled cube, and then if you went through and broke it up layer by layer, would you see all those cubes? Are all 27 cubes used, and do you have a full puzzle cube? So use this as a guide to help you see, like, are you going to go through and be able to make sure that you have and you're meeting all the constraints. Again, make sure you have 5 parts. I only have 4 in this one, so this one would not count as toward our design criteria. And then also make sure you don't have any identical parts, and you should have some interlocking parts as well. So have fun creating your puzzle cube solution, and as you use this later, this will be a little bit of a guide to help you with, making sure to know how to solve it later. And, go ahead and get this ready, and that way we can move on to modeling your parts that you need in Fusion 360.